So,
Yay!
who is gonna be our first? The guy with the longer beard goes first. All right.
Hi, my name's Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie.
Kevin and Lauren earlier mentioned Adam West, the mighty Adam West. And I know he did work on the animated series. Do you guys have any stories of Adam West, how he felt about the new vision of Batman, or just a cool Adam West story?
He did the voice of the Gray Ghost.
Yes.
In our show, and did a beautiful job in it. And to be honest, the day he came in, I was a little trepidatious because you're kind of treading on someone else's territory a little bit. So I was like, hi, how are you? And he couldn't have been more gracious. He said, oh, come on. He said, I had a blast. It's your turn now. Go run with it. Have fun. He was just a genuinely generous, gracious, kind of old school actor, like Ephraim Zimbalist was. I mean, there's just a type of generosity of spirit that you don't see a lot of. No sense of, this is my territory kind of thing. He couldn't have been more generous. Wonderful guy.
Well, and I always say Kevin is the iconic Batman, but the person who brought Batman into the consciousness of the world was Adam West. And it was thanks to his work that we were able to do our show and, as you said, pass the torch.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, guys.
I'm Brad, and I'm a big fan of the DC universe overall. Animated series introduced me, but I'm a big comic book fan. So I guess my question to you guys is, when you guys were preparing, to get into these roles, was there anything that you guys did looking at any of the comic book material to kind of help get you guys familiarized with the characters? Because that's something I continuously read, and I just want to know anything that stood out to you about these characters when you were getting ready to get into these roles.
For me, no.
Okay.
No, I never read the comics before.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
You approach acting, you approach a character the same way you would approach a character on stage. And I think that's why we were cast in the roles. That's what Andrea was going for. She wanted actors who were actors, And the trick to voice acting is you only have your voice to tell the story, but it's not, a lot of people think voice acting is making funny voices. It's not. It's creating a full character, but only being able to tell that character's story with your voice. You don't get to use the visual at all. So it's acting,
And the script gives you the information you need for the character, that particular show. You don't need to reference anything else. And in fact, I wasn't even aware that, I'm sorry, everybody, but I wasn't even aware there were comic books about this. I mean, I know I sound awful and you're going to hate me, but...
We're going to put a scarlet letter on you.
But over the years, people have asked, why do you think our series has had such longevity and why it means so much to people? And I think, because I've learned about this in recent years, I'm like these guys, I did not read comic books when I got the part, but in recent years I learned that the show really captured what comic books capture.
Yeah.
Three-dimensional characters with backstories who have reasons for what they're doing. Like even the villains, except for the Joker, we'll never know what his reason is, right? But all of the villains have reasons for what they're doing. And so it was like a really, really good comic book.
Because I hear your all's voices when I read those characters.
Good.
Thank you.
The brainwashing worked.
Thank you.
We'll report back to the Kremlin
Oh God, this was up real high.
that the brainwashing worked.
Hey, boss.
Hello, you guys. How are y'all doing?
Hi.
My name is River, and my question's more oriented towards you, Kevin. But what was your favorite animated movie to do for Batman?
Well, Mask of the Phantasm is such a great movie. The wonderful thing, actors, the way you approach a character is, actors love to be challenged by roles. And the wonderful thing about Batman is he has no superpowers at all. He's the only superhero with no superpowers. He's like the original MacGyver. he has to create these incredible tools and these incredible devices and use his wits to overcome evil. And what motivates him to do that is this horrible tragedy from his childhood. And rather than letting life crush him, he crushes evil. He fights back. And any story that goes into that root of what caused him to be the way he is, that psychology, I love playing. And Mask of the Phantasm goes all back to that storyline of, because he falls in love. And suddenly he falls in love, he realizes this is what life's about, but he's given this vow to his parents to avenge their deaths. So he has to get out of that somehow if he's gonna live a normal life with Andrea Beaumont. So he has to go back and ask his parents, plead with them at their grave to release him from his vow. And just then this flock of bats comes screeching out of the earth, and he feels his fate pulling him back down, and he knows he can't escape his fate. So any of those stories that go back to the root of what caused him to be Batman, I love those stories. Like Perchance to Dream is an episode that did that. He's a wonderfully complicated character to play. And so any of the ones that do that. So Mask of the Phantasm is my favorite.
All right, good deal. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
My question goes towards, I know some of you all have gotten to play characters extended past the animated series, whether it's the movies and then some of the video games into the Arkhamverse. So what was some of your approach into that, even as you went into more mature elements like the Arkhamverse and some of the recent animated films have kind of drifted towards?
Well, people have asked me how the character evolved over 27 years, and the trick is that he didn't, is to remain truthful to the original performance, because the audience is so devoted to that character and knows him so well. So the trick, like when you're doing a play, you're doing the same show 8 times a week for years, is keeping it fresh every night, and that's really hard. But you learn how to do that as a stage actor. And so for me, it's been to keep him rooted in that childhood tragedy, to keep him fresh. The thing that changed was doing the games, because the process of recording a game couldn't be more different than the process of recording the shows. The shows, as we said, you're all together and you're acting, and it's like doing a play, and in 2 hours you do a whole production. And when you have Mark Hamill giving you what he gives you, or John Glover, or Lauren Lester, or Diane Pershing, it's just so easy to work. It's so easy to give back when someone's giving you so much. When you're doing a game, because of the way they're constructed, it all has to be separate. So you're alone in a booth for 4 hours at a time, doing line after line after line after line after line after line. That's great. Could you do it with some irony? Line after line. Great. Keep the irony. Now give us a smile. By the end of the day, you don't know how to speak English anymore. It's crazy. And then you're trying to keep the Batman voice, and you're trying to put yourself in the situation of the character, but you're doing it all in a vacuum alone. So the challenge of acting in those situations is incredibly different.
Well, for me, I got to evolve. That was the exciting part.
Yeah,
is that
because you became Nightwing.
because I became Nightwing. So yeah. So in answer to your question, that was a wonderful thing to be able to do that. I don't know that many. I'm not an expert on all animated series, but I think it's a very unusual thing where the character gets to grow and become something else. So I was very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my
Hi.
name's Andrew.
Hi.
First, I would like to present this to you, Kevin. This was a little guy I got
Oh.
on my birthday earlier this year from a Supercon event.
Cool.
And I thought it would be nice to give this to you as a birthday gift.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a Christmas tree ornament.
Here, I'd like to give you this piece of candy. Thank you.
It's a Batman Christmas tree ornament. That's cool.
So anyway, on to my question for everybody up here. If you were to get the opportunity to voice any other character in the DC universe besides the ones you guys have already done, who would it be and why?
Ooh, I'd love to do the Joker.
And I would love to do Harley Quinn.
We all want to do each other's jobs.
I would love to do the story where Nightwing becomes Batman. But I would like them to do it with the other Batman. So I would love to see them create a scenario where the two Batmans live in the same universe. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, weird. And John?
Lex Luthor's dad.
Lex Luthor's dad. Yeah.
Next question.
But I did another Batman where I was kissed to death by Poison Ivy. Who was
You were Jason Woodrue.
Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy. And she just kept messing up those takes and takes and takes. She kissed me to death. And finally I had to say, Uma, do not put your tongue down my throat anymore. I just can't take it. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jordan.
Hi.
And I was just wondering, are there any other DC property characters, maybe Justice League or Teen Titans or anyone, that you would have liked to seen make an appearance in the show?
In our show?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm not as familiar with the universe as you guys are, to tell you the truth.
You guys have it all down.
People
We're
come
just-
up to me at the con and they'll go, now in episode 234, when they change the color from yellow to honey, I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think
You're more expert on a lot of this than we are.
I follow this rule. If I'm not in it, I don't watch it.
I think we all would have loved to have seen when things were expanded into Justice League Unlimited and stuff, and the whole palette DC universe. I always said it'd be nice to go back to a retro, a BTS one, bring back all the villains and have the whole villains against the Justice League or one of the groups, but just
Kind
and
of
I
an
think
Avengers thing.
it was on the drawing board as I understand it, but it's never reached fruition.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
What's up, Wildcat?
Thank you for knowing who I am. Alrighty. My question is for Kevin. What was your thought process when playing old Bruce in Batman Beyond?
Well, I just, he slows down. He's still got the passion to be Batman, but his body just won't do it anymore. So the thing was to still have that fire in him, but his pace became slower and his voice got even more gravelly and a little crusty and a little cranky. He's a little cranky because he can't do it anymore, and he's pissed. So that was the way I approached it.
Alrighty, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm just wondering, is there any Batman storyline that you wish you could have done on the show?
Well, I was referring earlier to when Nightwing becomes Batman. So Nightfall, I love Nightfall, and would it be great if they did like a series about that? That'd be great.
Yeah. I was just so happy they did the Killing Joke because Mark and I both had always wanted to do that. So I don't know what else is coming up, but there are a lot they could do.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I've always wanted to see you as the cast do a 1940s type Batman story with that aesthetic and
Ooh,
that,
cool.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and it'd
yes.
be cool because Poison Ivy
Fabulous
and the Riddler didn't
hair.
exist, so I would love to have
please,
seen
Veronica Lake
a
hair.
1940s version of those
Yes.
characters voiced by you.
Yes. Wow.
Hey, I'm Thomas.
Hi.
What's up, Thomas?
The show is known for being one of the pioneers of showing that cartoons could be more than just silly jokes, but also show a dark, subtle, and deep storyline. So my question for you all is, what were some of your favorite darker moments of the show?
Well, for me, Robin's Reckoning was like a turning point for my character because up until then, I had been sort of like the sidekick, what are we going to do, Batman? And then Batman would solve the problem. So starting with Robin's Reckoning and moving forward, he really got some meat to the character. And when you learn his backstory of this horrible tragedy, I love in that, my favorite moment in that is a silent moment when his parents swing off in the trapeze and then it swings back and it's an empty rope, it's a broken rope. It's such a cinematic moment. So those kind of dark moments really informed, and I said earlier, I love it because it's like a good comic book. the backstory, why we are the way we are, why we do the things that we do. Because as human beings, we all have reasons for what we do. So
I loved my episode, House and Garden, where Poison Ivy gets to have a husband and children. And actually, you can see her inhabiting that world and loving it and just adoring it. And even Batman buys into it and thinks it's real, that she's reformed. And then it all kind of goes to shit. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
And we see that, no, they really weren't babies and they really weren't a husband after all. And you can see the pain in her because she really wanted that to be so. She just couldn't because she's basically evil. I mean, it's kind of that simple. And it was a wonderful, marvelous episode for me, very challenging as an actor, and I really appreciated it, but it was very sad. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And speaking of sadness, unfortunately, we are at time. I do apologize to everyone in line, but I'm afraid this is at the end. So real quick, I wanted to ask our actors, do we have any upcoming projects you could share with us that's in the pipeline?
Well, Justice League Action is still on, and hopefully they're going to order more of those. And I have a new show on Nickelodeon, but it hasn't been announced yet, so I can't tell you what it is. But I'm playing like a bipolar villain. So it's a totally
On
different
camera?
character.
On camera or off?
Off camera.
Okay.
It's a cartoon.
next week, I have a call back for a Broadway show, so cross your fingers for me.
Yay!
Nightwing on Broadway.
I have nothing at this moment. Stay tuned.
I have something, but I can't talk about it.
That's fine.
Is that interesting?
Do you have any social media outlets we can follow you on?
Oh, Real Kevin Conroy on Twitter and Facebook.
The Lauren Lester on Twitter, and also I have a Facebook page, and laurenlester.com.
And I have a Facebook page and a Facebook professional Diane Pershing page and a wonderful website which tells you all about all the other things I've done in my life, which is quite interesting, dianepershing.com.
Romance novelist.
Yeah, lots of different things.
She's amazing. I'm so glad to get to meet you finally after all these years. Okay, and the John Glover is Instagram, and the real John Glover if you're a tweeter.